Hey, how you doing? Brian Kane here with the team Allie Beth Allman Podcast, where we're talking about the real estate mindset. And today, a super important topic about the certainty of uncertainty. And if you're going to work in real estate or you're going to work at anything in life, the one thing that's guaranteed is that there's going to be uncertainty. And what we want to do is not prepare the path for us so that there is no uncertainty. We want to prepare ourselves for the path so we can handle any uncertainty. So we can be certain that no matter what comes our way, we will be prepared to handle it. So I'm excited to be here with Keith Conlon and Erin Young. And Keith, let's start with you. Talk to us about this concept of uncertainty in this market and the times as real estate group.
Yeah, I think in terms of the uncertainty, is interest rates have gone up. There's lack of inventory. There's all the things that you read about. That is this a great time to buy or sell? I can make some money, but then I'm going to overpay. So it's the common, or it's just the news cycle right now is all negative towards real estate. So what we're trying to instill in the agents is, if you look at it compared to last year, it looks like it's down a little bit, but when you compare it to 2020 and 2019, it's up, in some months 20-25%. So it's kind of flipping the script and just finding the positive within any situation, but not just hearing that outside noise and the negativity that can distract you from achieving your goals or beating yourself up on not having as great a month or quarter, or we're about to hit 5 months into the year. So it's one of those things where you just got to look at the positive in every situation.
Yeah, I think it's a great reminder, that the attitude we take is a decision that we make and that our perspective will drive reality. And it's amazing. I was just reading a book, and they talked about how when the bombing happened at the Boston Marathon, the long-term PTSD, let's call it, of people who were either at the bombing itself or who watched the news for the following 6 weeks after the bombing, the depression rate, the negativity rate, the self-doubt rate, the uncertainty rate was greater in the people who actually stuck to the news for the last 6 weeks over the people who were actually at the bombing. So I think that's important for us to realize that, there's going to be news out there. Why? Because the news has to find something to talk about. And we can look at that and we can obsess over that, or we can obsess about our process and what we do. So I think one of the key things, Erin, that I want to have you unpack here for us is this mentality of compete, don't compare. And it's hard to compare one year to a previous year because of the way that the world is, but don't compare the bottom line number, because the bottom line number is an outcome that we don't always control. Compare, or should I say compete, with your process and what you do day to day, week to week, month to month, year over year. Is your activity level the same? Is your commitment to what you do on a daily basis the same as it was in your best year? And if it is, I think that's the game that we want to play, not the outcome game that we maybe can't control. Erin, unpack this mindset of compete versus compare, if you would.
I think that's well said, Brian. And, it's true. It is, if you're waking up and going through your routines that we've talked about in other podcasts and, doing what it takes for you to be prepared every day and how you're going to handle things, you are prepared to compete. And if you, it's just like in this industry, you can't compare yourself to other people. I mean, you can use somebody else's success to motivate you, but you can't compare it to their success because it's so different. It's never apples to apples. And so, you really are, just like in everything, you're just competing with yourself. And, as you just mentioned, the news has to have something to talk about. I mean, that's so true. And, it's always going to have, whether it's a good market, all they've been talking about is the low inventory, or, trying to, make people worry about, whether or not they're going to find a house. But I mean, we did over $3.8 billion in residential sales last year. I mean, that's a lot of houses that we've found, with low inventory. And, the same is happening this year. There's low inventory again, but, here we are finding homes for people, and a place to live. And, no matter what's going on in the market, that is, you have to have confidence that you may not know the answer, but you know where you're going to get it.
Yeah, you know that the answer is going to be there. You might just have to work a little differently, a little bit harder to find it, right? And I think that time is the tale of two agents, right? And the tale of two agents is one looks and says, "Oh, this market, this adversity, it's to be avoided. The other agent looks at it and goes, oh, this market, this adversity, that becomes my advantage. And it comes down to a matter of your perspective. It comes down to a matter of your attitude and making sure that you make that conscious choice every day, that the attitude we take is a decision we make, and maybe the most important one that we ever make. And I think when you get into the comparison game, it's easy to think about what if. But when you play the competitive game, it allows you to get into what is. And when you deal with what is, matter of fact, right here, right now, biggest day in the history of my career because it's the one I'm living, you can be productive. And I think that's the key that I want the agents to take away, is this mentality of compete, don't compare. Realize the attitude is a decision, that there's always going to be one certainty, and that's that there's uncertainty, right? And you got to focus on the process over the outcome, and you got to learn to make adversity your advantage. And if you can do those things, you become unstoppable. And I think as an agent, there's a process we go through, right? Where when we're trying something new, it can be whether it's a new technology or it's a new market or it's a new area that I move into, it can be unbearable at first. Do I really want to do this? Am I going to want to work this hard? This is going to be impossible. It's unbearable and hard to manage. And as you do it over time, it becomes uncomfortable. And then when you go through unbearable and you get into uncomfortable and you learn to make yourself comfortable being uncomfortable, that's how you become unstoppable. And as a member of the team, Allie Beth Allman Real Estate, you're going to be unstoppable no matter what the market is, because you know how to handle it. We have not prepared the path for you. We are preparing you for the path. So whatever path you walk, know that you're going to take it one step at a time. You're going to control the things that you can control, and you're going to find a way to be successful. Any parting thoughts on today's podcast? Keith, let's go to you, because I know you got another call you got to hop on, and then we'll come into Erin as parting shots for today. Last kind of thoughts, mindsets, messages for the team.
Yeah, I just real quick. I mean, I think, going back to even, I think in our days, Brian, back in 06, 07, you talk about, that kind of blue collar mentality, white collar approach. I think that's the same thing for real estate. You especially if you're selling luxury homes, you have that white collar, look and feel and everything else, but you've got to have that blue collar mentality that I've got to dig deep to find these deals. I can't get down. I've got to keep helping my clients and take every day one step at a time. Whether you think you had a bad month or not, or you're comparing it to last year, you just got to throw it out the window and just keep chipping away at your goal, and then look at the scoreboard at the end of the year.
Love that, right? It's a concept. It's funny, Keith. I was talking with a Major League Baseball player today who recently signed a contract with the New York Yankees. And as we were talking about the concept of batting average over the course of a season, it's no different than the real estate market. It's no different than dollar cost averaging and investing, right? If you invest, like say you take across the bottom of this scale is the month, and you go across the top, and it's how much you can buy. So let's say for a $10,000 a month investment into the stock market, whatever it is. Some days you're going to get some months you're going to get a lot more stocks for that $10,000 than you are in other months. And dollar cost averaging is, if I look at that over the course of a year, over the course of a decade, over the course of a career, it evens out and that line becomes straight, where if I look at it in the short term, it might be really high, it might be really low. And I think the mindset of the people who look in the short term rear view mirror, right? They spend too much time. It's like they have the windshield and the rear view mirror reversed. They spend all the time looking in the rear view mirror, but it's the size of the windshield. All they see is what was in the past. Instead of, I take all my time looking up the windshield, what's coming in front of me, and I glance in the rear view mirror so I learn from the past. And if you understand that concept of dollar cost averaging, whether it's with the market, whether it's with the batting average in baseball, it's going to even out over time. It's just a matter of being the best you can at that moment and staying consistent with your process. Erin, any final thoughts kind of for today's episode?
Things I love that you said: compete, don't compare, uncertainty is a certainty, and get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, hey, Erin, Keith, thanks for being with us, and thanks for tuning in. It's a great day to be with Team Allie Beth. Let's dominate the day. Have a great week.